Sega.
45 years after his debut on the pages of a comic book, Iron Man is set to be unleashed onto the big screen with his first major motion picture. In order to create an Iron Man game to accompany the film, Sega enlisted the aid of Montreal developer A2M.
A2M is a very strong character-based studio.
Iron Man is the game that brought me to the company. I mean, I wanted to really work on Iron Man.
I'm personally a big fan of superheroes, so I was just really happy to get a chance to work on this project.
I think that's a big opportunity for us to show what we got.
Iron Man first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 39 as part of a new wave of superheroes unleashed by Marvel in the early 60s.
62 and 63 were really big years for Marvel, where we produced, Stan Lee and company produced quite a number of our major icons.
Compelled to do something different, Stan Lee, along with Larry Lieber, Don Heck, and Jack Kirby, conceived the idea for Iron Man.
I think I was getting a little bit conceited, and I thought, I'm going to try something that you wouldn't think would succeed, but I'm going to make it work. You know, it became a challenge. So Tony was all the things that I thought people hated at the time, and I said, I'm going to make them like them.
Well, basically, he took comic books and changed them. I mean, up until that point in the 60s, comic books were all about these righteous characters who are great and awesome, but they were kind of one-dimensional. With Iron Man was a guy who wasn't really likable to begin with. He was, introducing a guy who was a 30s millionaire playboy to comic book fans. Like, why should I like this guy? But he was able to take these characters and, despite all their flaws, make them lovable, relatable.
So, okay, I had a rich industrialist who made war weapons and so forth, but why was he a superhero? So I decided he'd be a guy in an iron suit of armor. And I thought, it shows how original I can be. An iron suit of armor, I'll call him Iron Man.
Unlike other superheroes imbued with preternatural abilities or superhuman strength, Iron Man is a product of self-preservation, ingenuity, and redemption.
Yeah, he starts off as a guy who's, in captivity, is injured by his own weapons, and he's on the verge of dying, and then builds what turns out to be the Iron Man suit, originally to save his life.
So he has to build this machine around his heart that magnetically keeps the shrapnel away. And if the machine stops working, it digs in until it pierces his heart and kills him.
For the past 45 years, Iron Man has thrilled fans around the world as part of comic book lore. But now the man in the iron suit of armor is about to take on his biggest audience, moviegoers.
Well, Iron Man, first and foremost at this point, means major movie property. Franchise for us. He is the inaugural character, the inaugural launch of Marvel Studios.
What Marvel is really good at is they're really taking care to not only preserve, what the fans like, but doing things to make it appeal to a wider range of audience, stuff that everybody can relate to. And that's the thing with all these comic books, is that they always have these general, fundamental human kind of, sensibilities, and, bring them out to a wider range of public who wouldn't necessarily go into a comic store, but they'll watch a movie, and the same people will probably end up playing the video games.
Designing a game around Iron Man's many varied abilities and powers presents some developmental challenges along with some interesting gameplay experiences.
Yeah, it's actually hugely difficult. I think one of the things that makes Iron Man so compelling but also makes him difficult is he can do so much. He can fly, he's got super strength, he's got the armor shield, the unit beam, the repulsor blast, all these different things. You've got to balance gameplay for all those things.
Iron Man flies around, so we're going to have to look at opening the environments, creating a little more open, less linear. Very, very challenging for game development.
Anybody can be creative if you have no limit. Anybody can come up with any crazy idea. It's more fun to do it when you're like, okay, no, I can't go there, I can't go there. And this is the box that's defined for me. Okay, let's see how far I can push that box while staying in that box.
We can't really load and unload parts of levels when your character can fly everywhere and go everywhere and see everywhere at the same time. So that's been the biggest challenge for sure.
In order to bring these characters to life, Sega and A2M were able to enlist many of the film stars to reprise their roles.
Yeah, when we cast Robert, we had the reaction was, I never would have thought of it, but he's perfect. And that's sort of what you're going for. You want to surprise people, but you don't want to take them so far afield of what their expectations are that they're turned off to the project. You want them to be excited and intrigued by it.
Well, I think the luckiest thing that happened was getting Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark. That guy was born to be Tony Stark. When I first saw him, you know, with his little beard and everything, the way Tony has it, and I saw him in a scene, oh man, that was so gratifying.
The great thing about Tony Stark is that he doesn't have any superpowers per se. He's just kind of a genius and a weapons manufacturer and a general ne'er-do-well badass.
With both a feature film and video game, 2008 looks to be an invincible year for Iron Man.